Hello everyone, and we're doing a PvP video. Oh god damn it. I spent a whole night doing PvP on my assassin. I tried deception, didn't really like it, went back to hatred. Thought hatred was more fun in PvP. I always thought deception should be better in PvP, but I guess I haven't played it for a while, so I don't really know. But yeah, PvP, spent the night playing it, and it was pretty shit, to be honest with you. It's pretty crappy. But we're gonna talk about PvP now. From my reckoning, I played it a little bit for a few days, but I did spend the whole night. Yesterday it was the day before I'm recording this, actually, so it won't be up for a few days, so it doesn't matter. So I spent a whole day doing it, and I spent a little bit of the last week in PvP. But yeah, I think we're going to discuss the problems, and we're going to discuss potential solutions to PvP. The two big problems that I have identified with PvP. We'll talk about them. Neither one of those two problems, incidentally, is balance, I don't think, to be honest with you. We'll talk about the first problem. Now, the number one thing that I think is holding PvP back is accessibility. Accessibility is the biggest factor, the biggest detriment to PvP in this game. And what I mean by accessibility is not the fact that you can just jump into a PvP, because it is quite easy. You just click the Q button and you're in a match. You know, it's not that bad, but it's getting into it and staying into it is the thing that the problem is. It's keeping people around in PvP, because the experience kind of sucks at the moment. It really does. One of the biggest problems is gearing and bolster. They're two of the hugest problems with PvP accessibility. You know, bolster is a confusing mess of a thing. I mean, it turns out, it depends on who you ask, what's the best gear for getting started in PvP. It's like, some people tell you level 45 blues, some people tell you it's campaign gear. Incidentally, you shouldn't put expertise crystals in your main hand and offhand. I did that and got a warning about it, said they were less than optimal and wouldn't be bolstered. Like, what the fuck? What's the point in expertise crystals then? Why have them in the game if they're not going to bolster your other weapons? You know, I had campaign, I went for campaign just because it had a set bonus for the assassin, so I just thought, screw it, I'll try campaign. Tried level 45 blues, didn't notice any difference, to be honest with you. Got a few exhumed pieces, and once you get exhumed you can put expertise crystals in, but I thought, what the fuck is this? Why can't I put expertise crystals in a campaign, you know, campaign main hand? I already had, you know, a free set of crystals, actually, in the main, you know, which you got with the mail thing. What was it? The subscriber reward thing, should I say. But yeah, what was the point in me putting I just wasted an expertise crystal. I had to extract it and then go get a power crystal again because it was telling me it was suboptimal. Yeah, PvP gear suboptimal for PvP. Makes sense. I think that's one of the confusing things, is bolster just makes it too confusing, because your PvE gear don't do PvP in your end game PvE gear and your 192 gear. It is, oh, you will just die. You'll just get killed, and it's absolutely pointless. So yeah, that is a big problem. Now, Vanilla had a better solution to this. Vanilla, you had, at the beginning, you kind of had, sort of early on in Vanilla, you had a vendor that sold Recruit Mark 1 PvP gear. It sold it for credits, this vendor. So you could buy a full set of gear for credits, and, you know, you could go in and you'd get expertise, because there was no bolster. So if you wanted expertise, you had to have gear for expertise. But what they did was they gave you a full set of Mark 1, Recruit Mark 1 gear. Eventually what happened was they eventually gave you a set in the mail when you dinged 50. As soon as you dinged 50, you were given Recruit Mark 2. So basically, sort of, I think it was before 1.6, you had Recruit Mark 1, you had Battle Master, and you had War Hero, were the three tiers that you had. Recruit Mark 1 was the easiest to get. I liked that idea of the lowest tier being so easy to get. It made sense. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Making it easier to get, maybe making it available for credits as they did in Vanilla, or basic comms. Because a lot of people hit level 60 You know, we have a lot of spare basic comms from PvE. Why not put them to use in PvP? I mean, we're always talking about just the basic gear, not the exhumed gear. Maybe just the old gear, like the Brutalizer, which was the best in slot from PvP gear from level 55. Maybe just have that available for, you know, either basic comms or credits. You know, something that doesn't require PvP gear, because you ask the question, people always bitch at you for wearing PvE gear in PvP, and then I ask the question, how do I get PvP gear? And the answer to that is you got to do PvP to get PvP gear. You know, you got to do it, unless you've been doing PvP while leveling. I mean, I haven't done PvP for a long time. I mean, I leveled my assassin back in vanilla, and that's when I did PvP. I've still got some Battle Master pieces from the assassin. Still got the, you wouldn't use, do not use Battle Master gear. There's another tip, don't use that. You'll get absolutely annihilated using level 50. But I've still got some of the Battle Master shells, and I've got the Battle Master lightsaber as well. So yeah, I've still got a few of the old Battle Master pieces. Quite desirable, those Battle Master pieces. Very good models. The Mystic gear, which is on the cartel market, is basically just a reskin of some of the old Battle Master stuff. There's a lot of that on the cartel, but I have the original Battle Master thing. It's awesome. You should check out the Battle Master stuff. It is pretty cool. You can still get it. You can still get the shells that are craftable, but you need Valor rank 60 to use them, so you very rarely see people going around with Battle Master these days. But yeah, it was a good tier. It was one of their best looking gear tiers in the game. It's why it's still quite highly in demand, if we're honest. But yeah, so that is one of the problems, is just accessibility for PvP. I mean, getting into it is not difficult, but getting into it and doing well, you need the gear. So I would like to see it available, you know, even just the old gear available for basic comms, so at least you get some expertise. Get rid of bolster. Just get rid of it, because it's a waste of time. I hated bolster. Now, I did PvP a lot back in vanilla, and one of the other problems is the separation of PvP and PvE. Like, they're just totally different nowadays. They're totally separate. Back in vanilla, when you had War Hero gear, it was pretty decent for PvE. You know, War Hero, you could do all the ops in story mode with War Hero gear. It's perfectly viable. Obviously, you'd have to change the color crystals, you know, change expertise for power, but that was it. That was all you need to do, change 2 crystals. And you could do EV, KP, and, you know, Denova as well. You could do that. You could even do TFB in story mode with War Hero. You could even do EV and KP HM with PvP gear. You look at PvP gear now, it's 174. You can't even do HM flashpoints with 174. So you're kind of pigeonholed in to doing PvP if you're a PvPer, and PvE, your PvE gear is totally worthless in PvP, as it's always been. So you're just pigeonholed into those two things. They don't interchange or interact with each other very well, these things, and I think that is a design flaw. I think PvP was a good alternative method of gearing in vanilla back when you could get War Hero. War Hero was okay. I mean, it wasn't as good as the campaign gear or the Rakata. The Rakata set bonus, if you were kind of a serious raider, was what you wanted. Rakata, then campaign. But when, you know, PvP, your War Hero gear, which did have a set bonus as well, pretty decent if you're just a casual raider. You could go PvPing, and it was good for gearing alts, was what I was saying. It was very, very good if you were gearing an alt character. You know, you could just throw them into a couple of war zones, get full War Hero, and then you were off to the races in PvE as well as PvP. So it was quick for gearing up. Right now, you kind of struggle a lot in PvP. It is a struggle, a massive, massive struggle. Also, the players' attitude. The PvP community, their attitude to new players is dire. I mean, that's what I get told. It's like, the amount of people that quit a war zone just because there was people in it without full exhumed gear on. It's like, oh my god, noobs don't have full exhumed gear. Quit. I mean, it's like, why are you doing that? You're adding to the problem. You're part of the problem. You're not part. Be part of the solution. That's what I'm trying to say. Just be part of the solution. Bear in mind that, you know, if new people want to come to PvP, the only way they can get PvP gear is to do PvP. So it is the kind of paradox that you've got there of, oh my god, you don't have PvP gear, get some PvP gear, but how do I get PvP gear? Oh, I gotta do PvP. You know, it's like, I'm doing the right thing. It's not as if I'm doing ranked, I'm queuing for unranked, but I've seen a lot of that attitude from PvPers. I mean, in PvE, the attitude of the players is a lot better than PvP. I mean, everybody just trades insults in PvP. People on your team, this is people on your team, it's supposed to be a team effort, PvP. It is generally, supposedly a team. PvE is a little less. People are generally more helpful. Like, if you can't down a boss, you know, if the tank makes a mistake on a boss fight, they'll say, look, don't do that, this is what you do, this is the strategy. Most people will tell you the correct strategy or give you advice. In PvP, they'll just berate you and tell you to leave the game, and it's not a good idea. You know, PvPers complain, oh, there's long queue times and there's no PvP content being developed, but then anyone that tries to, you know, come into PvP and is new at it, you berate them for being new at it. It just, you know, you can't have your cake and eat it. Make a choice. You either want a lot of people doing PvP so you can get your queue pops faster, or you want that little exclusive club. You've got to make that decision. That's the PvP community's choice. Make that decision, or, you know, or shut up. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. You know, help new players if they don't know what they're doing. Help them. You know, you can be helpful. It's easier to get people into it if you're helpful rather than just hurling insults at them and leaving. Quitting never achieved anything. I don't get people who quit war zones and arenas, because it's not like PvE. I mean, if you're wiping a lot in PvE, it costs you credits. In PvP, if you lose, it's not a huge consequence to losing. That's the main difference between PvE and PvP, is PvP rewards you for turning up. PvE rewards you for success. Like, you have to be able to down the boss. I mean, yeah, PvE, you'd say, is a little bit easier, you could argue. But in PvE, you have to succeed. If you want the gear, if you want the commendations, you have to succeed. You know, you have to be able to down the boss. You have to be at least competent. PvP, you can just be totally useless at PvP. And yeah, people will put you on ignore, people will shout at you, but ultimately you'll still get the Warzone done. You'll still get the reward. You can still get full PvP gear out of it. So that is one of the main problems, you could argue. And maybe the reward system needs to be looked at. Now we'll look at the second problem of PvP. Now the second problem is content. Now I last played PvP again in vanilla, and what has happened since I stopped playing PvP? Well, we've had one new Warzone since then, since Rise of the Hutt Cartel launched. We've had arenas, which I don't like, to be honest with you. I preferred Warzones. I like the objective-based gameplay. I think arenas are just big Zerg fests, where it's just all damage numbers and very little strategy, I find, in arenas. And I don't like the player's attitude in arenas. Not a big fan of arenas, but one Warzone since vanilla. So why should I go back to PvP when I've done most of the Warzones? I'm sick of the Novari Coast. I'm sick of Ancient Hypergate. I'm sick of what's it called again? I can't remember. What's the one called? The attack and defend one. I can't even remember it. Alderaan Civil Wars, the other one. I'm sick of those maps. You know, they're boring. They're old. And one of the things that annoys me is we had Rishi, which is a pirate-themed planet in the game. And surely you can do a pirate-themed Warzone. Surely, BioWare, you can do a pirate-themed arena. Come on, it's perfect for PvP. You've got that whole pirate theme there, Rishi. We need a Warzone on Rishi. I mean, look at the Ravagers. If you look at the ship, how cool would that be to have a Warzone, a Huttball Warzone on a ship, a flying ship? How cool would that be? Or even if you had a Warzone that was two ships, essentially, fighting in the air. Two airships fighting, and your goal was to destroy the other ship. Kind of like Alderaan Civil War, only you're in the air. Both ships are in the air, and you could like swing across with grappling hooks to the other ship. That'd be awesome. You could control cannons, maybe, and fire cannons. You could like sabotage the other team's cannons by hacking things, and it would be so cool if you could do these things. There's such an opportunity lost here. PvP does need content. It does need more content, more updates, more often really is what PvP ultimately needs. It needs more attention. But I'm surprised that they've never come up with anything like that. I mean, it took me about 5 minutes when I first saw Rishi to say, right, that'd be awesome for an arena. What about an arena on Rishi? Would be kind of cool. A pirate-themed arena. A pirate-themed hut ball map. It's begging. The content is there. Rishi is a great planet for these things. Ziost would be another cool place. Again, the desolate wasteland of Republic fighting the Empire for control of Ziost would be quite interesting. The Republic wants to take it because, you know, it's like it'd be a big deal because it's fairly close to Droman Cass and Korriban, so it's like they're on the Sith's doorstep, essentially, taking that planet, and the Empire, of course, wants to save face by doing that. So Ziost has got there's a good little story there for PvP there. You know, there's plenty of opportunities in the game for PvP maps and things like that. I mean, the Quesh one was pretty cool. A Hoth map would be kind of cool where the weather closes in. I think that'd be pretty awesome if you did. Imagine like a Hoth map. Even have things like, I don't know, Battlefield's Levolution type thing on the Hoth, where if you hack a certain number of nodes, the other team's base gets shrouded in like an ice storm, which slows their movement speed. That would be kind of cool. You could like manipulate the weather on Hoth. That'd be awesome. You know, have mounted PvP as well. You could use Tauntauns. That'd be vehicle-based PvP. I mean, we do have space PvP. We've got Starfighter, which honestly I've never done. I've never ever looked at Starfighter. I've never seen the queue pop, and it's just something that's just never really appealed to me. So it's like every time I've queued for it, I've just got another queue pop faster. Like a queue for land and space, or even a mixture of land and space PvP would be quite interesting as well, like Battlefront. You know, if you look at Battlefront 2, where it has, you know, even if you just have a map that has like a sort of space type portion to it, would be quite interesting actually. It would be quite interesting to see them use PvP in that sort of sense. Now we're going to cover, I've covered a few solutions to this, we covered a few problems, but I think the biggest issue that I have outside of those two issues is the gear progression. I would like to see PvP gear removed, and I'll tell you why. I'd like to see expertise removed. I'd like to see the whole sort of vertical gear progression for PvP taken out. I wish they would do something that's akin to a multiplayer shooter. If you think of something like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Titanfall, if you look at their progression systems, I think they're much better. Basically, you would just get PvP XP, which you could earn at any level. Regardless, that would open up PvP, so you could be like, you know, level 10 or something like that, and still have like full complement of PvP abilities, and make it that you unlock perks instead of gear. So the more PvP you do, the more ranks you gain. The more ranks you gain, the more perk slots that you unlock. And the perk slots would have a choice of abilities you could have. You could have, for example, a alacrity boost or a damage reduction boost. Say you get 10% attack speed increase or 10% damage reduction increase. Let's say you get a 10% movement speed increase, could be one of them, or you could have a 10% I guess resistance to slows and things like that. So you could either move faster, or you could resist slows and things like that, or you could even have 10% stun resistance, or your stuns if you stun a target, you do 10% more damage while they're stunned. You could have that as a choice, which would give us some choice, really. You do have a 10% chance to resist a stun. Basically, that would be the stun resist mechanic. It would be interesting if they do that and you just picked what perks you wanted before you went into PvP, and also a separation of PvE and PvP abilities. This would allow them just to balance purely for PvP, and it wouldn't affect PvE. I think that would be the thing, is because we kind of getting annoyed because they just tend to they try to placate PvPers by pissing off PvEers, and it's not a good thing. You want the game to exist. It's clear that they can't exist in balance. That's what's clear about this, is that they just cannot, both modes cannot exist, coexist in balance. So what would be the best thing to do is just to separate them even just have like a separate discipline tree for PvP. Just right, let's say this is your discipline tree for PvE, this is your discipline tree for PvP. You know, just have separate utilities, separate disciplines. Abilities do different things. People say it would be complex to code, but ultimately it could be worth it. I mean, people getting pissed off and leaving the game is annoying. You know, it's going to affect their bottom line at the end of the day. So again, it would be nice if they would at least try and fix this. I know Final Fantasy XIV does this. You have separate abilities for PvE and PvP, and games like WildStar also, with your pick 5 abilities, you can only have like, well, I think it's like 5 or 6 abilities in like WildStar. Some are better suited for PvP, some are better suited for PvE. So of course you pick the ones that are better suited for PvE when you're doing PvE, and you pick the ones that are better suited for PvP when you do PvP. So a similar system to that would be, I think, would come in handy actually. It would really make it good. There are certain utilities now that are just PvP only. You can see like the stun, you get stunned, you know, take less damage while stunned and things like that. We've seen for the assassin. But yeah, I've seen those kinds of things are a step in the right direction. We were hoping that disciplines would actually bring the game more into balance, but it seems to be more out of balance than ever before. And the other thing I would like to say is you don't have to design all classes to be equal. Balance doesn't mean all classes being equal. What you need to look at with balance is, can class X counter class Y? You know, if sorcerers are overpowered, what's the best class to bring to counter them? The only problem with this is that you can get a, you know, the matchmaking isn't perfect. You know, the matchmaking is just random. So again, you'd have to look at matchmaking again. Maybe require a healer maybe for each side. Again, I don't think it would be hugely popular because it would increase queue times, and people already don't like queue times. But again, I'd rather have quality PvP than the sort of quantity of PvP matches that are bad. And you see people just quitting anyway. I never understand that, 'cause you're still gonna get Valor, you're still gonna get things like that. Who cares if you lose the match? It's not as if it's gonna cost you anything. It's not gonna cost you any credits. It's also not a bad way to make credits, PvP. I made quite a nice amount of credits doing it because, you know, you're dying but you've got no repair bill. At least that's one good thing about PvP. But anyway, so that is all for this video. Let me know what you think about PvP in the comments. Is it useless? Is it kind of crappy? But yeah, I think it's probably the worst aspect of the game right now, and there's very little incentive to do it unless you enjoy PvP. And I've been out of the loop for PvP for so long that I just don't enjoy it anymore, to be honest with you. You can't get back into it. I tried for a whole day to get back into it, and I never really enjoyed myself. So anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon, and goodbye.